How you doing? Look at this. Anyway, let's have a quick chat about marginal gains, because I spoke about this a bit, but the reason why I want to talk about it today is just over the last couple of days, I've had deep discussions and possibly some pushback on, I would definitely say, definitely a lot of pushback on marginal gains with two people from the two businesses that I've got, the two important people that are involved with those businesses, directors, a bit of pushback on marginal gains, right? And the first thing I want to talk about is I should have posted, put the link to it down below. Actually, I'll edit it later, but I saw a little reel, if you like, of Steve. It was some clips of Steve Jobs put together when Steve Jobs was talking about starting a business and how hard it is. And he's going on, you've got to do all these things. And when you start a new business, it is hard. You got to, from scratch, you got to design he says you got to design the logo. You've got to, create a website. You've got to design a product. What does that look like? What does the offer look like? All these things. Then you've got to put in all the, you need a way to manage finances, manage the business, track progress, all these back office things, even put a kitchen in, put a coffee machine in, whatever, right? Just loads of little things that you got to do. You got to register for this, you got to register for that. Even just to sell one unit, it's a nightmare, right? So you've got to do all these things, and usually a business. Anyway, Steve Jobs going on about starting a business, and then he says, the one thing that separates successful people from not successful people is perseverance. He puts it down to perseverance, right? And he also says that if you don't love what you do, you're going to give up. You're probably going to give up if you don't love it, because it's perseverance over a long time. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I've talked about that a lot in my videos in terms of perseverance. I did a video, the two things that all successful people do. The number one is they do the hard things that other people want, and that is that perseverance over a long period of time. And the second thing that they do is they never use negative self-talk, so they're always believing in themselves, right? And then I've done other videos like obviously the seven mental models for success that you need to develop. And the other one that I did was I've done some videos on starting businesses and why you need that passion to succeed. Because if you don't have the passion, you're screwed. Like Steve Jobs says, if you don't love what you do, you're probably going to give up because it's hard, right? So all those things are true, right? You need that love for what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're just chasing money and you don't love what you're doing, you're going to fucking give up because it takes longer than you think. Right, so all them things are true about Steve Jobs. The reason why I'm mentioning Steve Jobs is this persistence bit is mega because it relates to marginal gains. If you think about what marginal gains are, it's all those little micro actions. It's all right, mate. That's a weird noise. All those little micro actions that happen over long periods of time, right? So when we think about marginal gains, the concept of marginal gains is improving 1% in many different areas. So it's like looking at what you've got, let's say you've got a career, or you're running a business, or whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever your goal is, and there might be 10 different areas, right? So in a business sense, you might have, well, there's a website, you might have something going on a platform like eBay or Amazon too. You might have social media, Meta, LinkedIn, YouTube, all these different things. You might have finances, monthly accounts, you might have meetings, client meetings, you might have creating a product, you might have supply chain, you might have operations, delivery, posting, whatever, right? There's loads of different areas. Even starting out, I'm not talking about a big company where you've got things like HR and employee rights and benefits. It's just adding, insurances, just adding more and more to it. I'm talking about just starting a business. Anyway, there's just someone there. You've got all these different things. So let's just say you've got 10 areas in that business. And marginal gains is how can you improve 1% in every area? And the pushback I've had this week has been more of, oh, well, like some people say, well, why would I do that? It's not going to get a sale. Like, yeah, of course, tweaking that little thing on that website is not going to get you a sale instantly. Or tweaking a little social media post is not going to get you a sale instantly. So why do them, right? That mentality, I think, is they're looking for what is the one thing I can do to get a massive sale. Well, unfortunately, there isn't one thing you can do to get a massive sale. There isn't one thing you can do to achieve any goals. It is consistency, and as Steve Jobs says, it's persistence, and it is doing those little bits every day and day in, day out. It's consistency. So there isn't, if you're sat there thinking, what is the fucking secret to get that success? What is the one thing I can do? There isn't. So marginal gains is worth considering. And I think there are a few rules or priorities, because we can't waste our time, right? And I do agree, slaving away posting social media and things can be a slog, especially when you're not getting any results. So you have to be efficient with your time. So if you think about efficiency, what can we do to make sure all those little things that are not getting immediate results are still efficient? Well, it would be using tools, wouldn't it? There are lots of tools to help you create content now. I am not a big fan of AI content. I just hate it. I like to speak as a human being, And I actually wrote on my website, my personal website, andyholt.co.uk, and I put a little thing at the bottom saying, everything you see on here, every photograph, every video has been made with me speaking. There's absolutely zero AI. However, AI is a factor. So one thing that AI can do, very good. So sometimes for the Goal Achievement Hub business, I create these little 1 minute short reels, just like social engagement. They're like a social media post. I will accept a bit of AI on social media for idea generation. And one thing you can do with these little reels is put it through V'd captions, and it'll put captions on you automatically. It'll do a transcript, and do all that. There's no fucking way you want to be listening to yourself and typing that out. So I definitely using it for things like that. And it'll also now do things like find B-roll, relevant B-roll, or generate B-roll, but it's still you speaking. So it just sort of enhances by putting little touches on and stuff like that. I accept that. I was having a chat with Nikki yesterday, and she was asking me about these new AI generated video creators where like it just sort of scans your face and then you feed it some text and it'll literally create a video like of an AI robot version of you, something like this. I'm not sure about that yet. I do believe there is a future with it. Maybe it's okay for sort of general day-to-day social media, but for big messaging and things, I always believe in face-to-camera content. Like, I think you've got to be authentic. I'm not a fan of the faceless channels. If I see any of that AI generation, I like listening to Alan Watts, and the amount of flipping channels that are on YouTube now that you listen to, and you can just tell with the cadence of the speaking, it's like this is AI generated and it's just a picture, it's face. It's like, get rid. I can't be doing with it if it's not authentic. So I think authenticity, but obviously the power of things like AI can help with things like marginal gains. So having running prompts and things for idea generation is fine. Particularly video idea generation or content idea generation. I could do a separate live on that, how to like churn out loads of content that is not purely AI generated, but AI assisted is fine. The other consideration, so when you're doing marginal gains, yeah, you've got tools to make it efficient. The other thing that I think is worth doing on marginal gains is asking yourself a question: is this going to lead to? Is this marginal gain? Does it have a long-term effect? Even if it's a very minimal effect, does it have a long-term effect, or is it just like today's news? You know, because if it just affects, let's say you're doing a social media post, and it just affects that one social media post for that one day, it's like, you know, tomorrow it's yesterday's news. That might be a waste of time if it takes you loads of time. Whereas what we did recently is upgraded the templates for social media. You know, the background templates, the way that every social media post is formatted, and the content types and the strategy. Now that, as a marginal gain, is massive because it means that that template is reused every single time for the future now. And the only thing that's changing is the copy or the content or, you know, the theme of it. So that is an example of applying a marginal gain that is lasting. Other things are improving something really small, like on a website. If you're trying to improve conversion rate optimization and you just want to change the color of a button, that's worth doing because it's got a lifespan. It's not just for today. So you've always got to think, yes, when you do your marginal gains, you want to think, is this going to last? Is this something that I can do now that's minimal, maybe like 0.01% or whatever, that won't take me that long, and it's going to last for a very long time, which means it's got the opportunity to compound over time. Because all these small daily actions, we want to compound. We don't want them just lasting one day. We want to do something that's going to improve something that has, and that's what you can do. You can do these mini changes across the board that will then compound. And the other thing you can do when you're doing marginal gains, you should do more than one of them. You know what I mean? It's all right to do little tweaks here and there, but if you sort of spent maybe a day doing, let's call it a marginal gains audit, right? And you can use tools for this. You know, you can use AI tools to help you with idea generation for an audit. So you might feed in a bit of information about your business, or if you created like a private GPT about your business, or already knows about everything that you do in your website, and you just ask it to give you some ideas for a marginal gains audit, and it might come up with like, you know, 15, 20 things, and just for idea generation, just go down it and then pull yourself, just drop in Excel a little marginal gains audit. So you might say, like for my software, it would be Okay, we need more content in this market because we're trying to get into this market. Okay, so marginal gains audit might be reorganizing the header menu, on the website, so it favors more towards a particular target market. Quick thing to do. WordPress, go in, reorder the menu, done. You might have, we need to generate more content to point to that market. Right, okay, well, let's start generating some themes and ideas around SEO, organic SEO content for that. And then this next step would be obviously writing it, which is more than a marginal gain, but your first step would be at least idea generation. You might then also start to create some internal links in your website. So you might look at various posts and point them to a particular product that you're trying to market. So just internal linking, or dropping in some short code to show products and things. You can do things like that. You might have like, what is your support system? Are you really, have you really digitized your support ticketing system for things like issues like software support? There's another one. You might think, is that going to get you a sale? No, but it's better for customer retention. It's better for how you deal with customers. What about like if you're using a video call, when you create these kind of backgrounds that everyone has with the company logo, do we need a fresh one of them? You might think that's minimal, but appearance. What about getting more LinkedIn followers? What about all these small things? Getting more LinkedIn followers. What about a little bit more engagement on social media? Go and getting followers and things like this. All these things are marginal gains, and you can do a few of them in a day. I've sometimes just do a website audit, and I might just go over a website, just put things down in Excel, and I might come up with 5 little tweaks that I can do that day and just do them. And the good thing about doing website audits are, well, it's like organic SEO, it grows over time. I believe in that. I mean, other things, I believe in writing long form content. Long form content was massive in terms of SEO. It's certainly been massive for my tech business. I've been writing 9 years there now. Well, mostly Simone. I'm doing a lot now. And it's built it so it gets 6,500 to 7,000 visits a month of targeted organic views. Fucking insane. It's such a niche market. Like, that is really difficult to get. Right, and that is just through that consistency of posting good quality organic content. So I believe in things like that. You could say it is a marginal gain because it takes time, but it's a long marginal gain. So yeah, I believe in marginal gains, but when you're choosing the things to do, always look at what has a long lifespan. How are you doing? You're from Bavaria in Germany, that's mega, right? So I love Bavaria in Germany. It's probably the best part of Germany, really, because just the attitude of the people in Bavaria, it feels a bit more like Austria. And, to me, Austria, this is just my opinion, Austria always feels like sort of a mix between Italy and Germany, you know what I mean? It's a little bit more laid back than sort of Germany. And Bavaria feels like that. Even the buildings look like Austrian buildings. And so, yeah. Bavaria's got a lot of interesting landscape, castles, important places to visit. So I do like it, yes. Neuschwanstein Castle's there, isn't it? King Ludwig, he's worth a look at. What an eccentric king of Bavaria he was. Going off topic now, but I think to build that castle, Neuschwanstein, the really fancy one that's sort of Disney based, the Disney castle on it. To build that castle, he literally bankrupted Bavaria. Literally spent the whole of. He was king, and he spent all the Bavaria's money on it. all the tax money and everything, and bankrupted himself doing it. And I think 2 weeks before it was finished, he killed himself in the lake. He had some mental health issues and walked down to the lake and threw himself in, I think, and nobody ever found him. He built the other castle on the other side, didn't he? You know, you got Neuschwanstein up on that hill, on that cliff, on that like mountain, and then on the other side, he built another castle for his parents. Yeah. Anyway, back to marginal gains. That's what I think you should do. Marginal gains is about consistency, but it's also about doing an audit of whatever you're trying to achieve, looking at all the areas, choosing things to do, like small improvements, many small improvements over time that have a lasting effect. Always make sure they got a lasting effect. That's what I think you should do. You know, and I think it's a good way to go, you know, because big projects, big changes, you know, if you're looking at what is that one big thing that's going to bring me success, I don't think that's the way, you know. When you do that one thing that brings you success, it tends to be, it feels like luck, but what you'll find is that usually arrives. It feels like it comes out of nowhere like luck, but usually that is the result of consistent, persistent grind for years. It hasn't just turned up, it's been coming all along, and it tends to come when everything is right. It's almost like when you're ready. It's like, you know, not this Friday, a week before. I've been away to Madeira because it was my birthday, so I was doing some sort of, I did windsurfing and hiking. It was pretty cool. But the Friday before it, which was the 14th, I finally got my blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Training it for 2 years. It takes fucking ages, right? And I think there's something good in that, right? Because it's like, you know, people around you take the piss out of you because you're white belt for 2 years, and it's like, well, do you know how hard it is, you know, to get a fucking blue belt in like Gracie style jiu-jitsu? It's really hard. And you have to take the piss taking for a bit. Anyway, I finally got the blue, so it's like first coloured belt, and I was really happy about it, and I was really happy that it took a long time and a lot of effort to get. I know that my coach, Glenn, does not give belts out easy. And I also wasn't chasing it, so I was happy for it to take a long time, but it was the result of consistent training for 2 years, and I think it was a bit longer than 2 years, but that consistency and effort, you know, keep showing up to training when I can't always go, but you know, always trying to keep getting stuck in, paid off. And it's good that they don't hand out the belt so easy, because it feels more valuable when you get it, you know what I mean? I was certainly chuffed with it. And I spoke about like that being an absolute example of continuous work. Like, I think even in my journal, I always have a fitness related goal. Yeah, down here. And yeah, it's like, you know, I'd set a goal to get it, and it's been achieved, you know, and it's like, that's what I want. You know, I've always got this fitness based goal, which when I do my fitness, I do I'm kind of focusing on two things at the minute. One is like weight training, and the other is jiu-jitsu. And at the start of every week, I always have the habit tracker tracking training and jiu-jitsu, and I want to tick off something every day. So I want to train something every day, right? And that is what leads to marginal gains. The other part, if you think about fitness, right, let's just do a marginal gains audit on fitness, right? Depends on your goal. If you think about fitness, we've got many different things, right? So in jiu-jitsu, you might be training for skill to be a better fighter and a better competitor. In the gym, you could be training for strength, right? Just getting stronger. You might also want to train in the gym for a different goal, which might be aesthetic, right? There are other health goals like longevity, right? Overall health and longevity. So there's many different goals. But if you want a bit of everything, which is what I want, I want health. That's why I talk about diet a lot. If I wasn't bothered about health and I was just interested in strength, getting a big beast, muscle man, pretty much what I used to do when I was like 18, 19, I was massive. If that were all I were interested in, I wouldn't be on a low carb diet. I'd be smashing fucking carbs. I'd be eating. I used to like eat full chickens for fun and just like loads of potatoes and rice and stuff and just kill it and overeat, overconsume calories and just drink like 4 pints of milk in one go. I was a beast. I was like, just wanted to squat more and just get like almost like a power lifter. My goal was just to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That is no longer my goal. My goal now is more, I like lean mass, but I want to be aesthetic whilst also balancing health. So I control my calories a bit more intelligent. So if you think about a marginal gains audit on your health, what would that look like? Well, let's have a go. For me, diet. So the 4 principles I have on diet, which is whole foods, high protein, I would say control low overall calories, and that means maintenance calories, working it out, and then plus sort of 300 or 400 depending on your goal. Bulk cut, lean bulk, shallow cut, and then finally I will go low carb, just to control blood sugars and body inflammation for overall health. So I'll be looking at those things and I'll be making little tweaks in every area. Right, my training, I will be looking at maybe consistency, maybe training intelligently. I did a little live yesterday. It wasn't great because it was like I was in my jeans, but I was talking about the perfect, most efficient training split to get good gains. Now, the funny thing is, when we talk about marginal gains, we talk about the accumulation of marginal gains, which is not just one thing, it's many things that then compound, right? So what that looks like is if you're training intelligently and you're adding intensity and you're not overtraining and you're focusing on, can I train every major muscle group twice a week and get enough stimulus but no more? If I then add in a really tight diet, then I'm likely to get better results. And if I also add in really good sleep and rest and recovery, I'm going to get even better results. So there's 3 things: sleep, diet, training split, training intelligently, right? Each one of them probably has 3 or 4 marginal gains. So let's look at sleep. What can you do? Marginal gains. Well, make sure your bedroom is colder, right? Make sure your bed's comfy. Make sure your bedroom's colder. You don't get too hot. Make sure it's like blackout as much as you can. No screens before bed. No bright lights before looking at your circadian rhythm. Another marginal gain you can do, when you get up in the morning, go outside with your fucking journal, get some natural sunlight to wake yourself up, right? So your circadian rhythm starts, so that when it comes to the evening, before you go to bed, you're not having like loads of bright daylight and screens and stuff like this. You know, you want to be on like red light. These are little things that you can do to improve your sleep. Cutting out coffee by 3 p.m. so that you haven't got caffeine. To eat more of your calories earlier in the day, right? So that your body has time to digest it. You haven't. Sometimes when you're hungry, but it's better to not have your body work so hard before bed in terms of digestion. You'll sleep better. Be careful how much water you drink right before you go to bed, otherwise you'll be waking up in the night and having a piss. There are so many things that you could do to improve your sleep. And that's just your health and fitness. Like other things, look at your supplementation, get your bloods done, check how your hormones are performing, make little tweaks. Like I always talk about, when you're on a low carb diet, you might have high iron because it's just, you know, carnivore, low carb, keto, high iron, which might, when you have a look, make your SHBG too high. You know, your binding protein, which lowers your free testosterone. You might have to make tweaks to your diet on supplementation and things. I'm not going to go into that, it's very technical, but it's a marginal gain. You might also have like look at, okay, for the longevity side, you got loads of different supplements, but another thing, commit to taking collagen, glycine, and creatine daily. That's going to give you huge results over time. How fake was the Las Vegas GPF1? I've no idea. The subliminal messaging, I have no idea. I didn't watch it. I don't really watch TV. I don't know what happened. I will have a little look at that, Liam, but I didn't watch it. What do you mean by it was fake? Like the set? I mean, on Las Vegas, right? I put Dubai in that sort of camp. Like, I've never wanted to go. I've not been to Dubai. I've never wanted to go. No interest in it at all, because to me it just seems synthetic. Same as Las Vegas. It's all synthetic, right? However, now I actually do want to go. One big advert. Yeah. Okay. So now I do want to go to Dubai because I just want to experience it and just see what it's like. You know, the whole glamorousness of it. But it is fake to me, just like Las Vegas. Like, I look when I was in, before I had this business, I was in architecture and big consulting, and when I studied architecture, because you had to do, as part of the RIBA part 1, you had to do culture C. It was all about the history of architecture, and we studied architecture history for like back to like 4,000 years before BC, you know, before Christ. Like, it was a huge amount of time. And one of the things that you saw was, you know, when you go into a culture and it's just organic, it's just like, if you like nature take its course, like you go in somewhere in Europe, right, and you go into one of these, I don't know, Italy, say, everyone thinks all fancy buildings, and it's just culture. It's been driven by culture, and you know, maybe the religion or whatever has driven the development of a city. And then you go to a different culture. You got Germany, right? Somebody mentioned Bavaria. The buildings are different, and it's not that far away, but the cultures have driven them. And if you look at like an organic town, you've got a town, and then it grows, and shops and services pop up based on supply and demand. Now, the problem is they're not always in the perfect place. They're not always like bang on in the right location. Maybe it's like, oh, I could get this corner of land, so I'm going to stick a shop, and it's not great. But it's almost like a neural network, like a brain that's just developed based on connections strengthening because there's a requirement, like with supply and demand. And I like that. I love that. Now, the problem with the organic route, sometimes you can get like a bit of a sclerosis just based on greed, and that's humans, you know, we just have this. So what you end up with is town planners going in and manipulating it and stopping this is what we have now. But even the town planners can end up, even though they mean well, like we've got too many shops in that area and we're not enough schools and shit like this. They mean well, but they can also over manipulate and over, you know, this is just a political thing. You can over regulate, you can end up pushing it in the opposite direction. Whereas places like Las Vegas and Dubai, they're designed from the off. And in the UK, we've got new towns, they call them new towns, like someone's grand plan, like, Milton Keynes is one, right? It's not a new town anymore, it's been there forever, but it's still classed as a new town. And when you go to these new towns, I don't know what you think, I'm not slagging off Milton Keynes because it's not too bad actually, but I don't know what you think when you go to these new towns. Warrington near me is also the same, like parts of it, Birchwood. There's just fucking roundabouts and roundabouts and these places are sterile. They just don't feel like they've got any organic life in them, you know. There's another place, Liam, you'll know, what's that estate called in Chorley? Bloody hell. I remember driving through it at night with a fog, and it's like a maze, and it feels like you're trapped because every street looks the same, and it's massive. What's it called? Just in Chorley, can't remember the name of it. Oh, why has it evaded me? Buckshaw Village. You drive around there, everything looks the same, and it's like trying to get out of a maze. You know, you're like, bloody hell, where am I? Do I get out of here? I remember going through it at night one time, and it was foggy. Anyway, I'm rambling now because we was talking about marginal gains, and we got on to like organic cultures and things. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I talked a bit about marginal gains. I'm going to keep going. Have a nice day. Can't really, unless we've got anything. Yeah. Roundabouts, yeah. Kyoto is my place to go. Sounds great. Yeah. I think that's pure monocultural Kyoto. You're going to see everything organic. Anyway, yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.